Do you hear that? Is that a sound on the roof? Could it be a new episode of a whole new pod? That's right, folks. It's a whole new pod,
Welcome
a podcast
back.
all about Disney Channel original movies, watching them, reviewing them, overanalyzing them, and very occasionally liking them. I'm joined by my co-host,
Jacob Telejohn.
Say my name, Jacob.
Lucas Melby?
You're goddamn right. That's what the kids nowadays call a pop culture reference, and this was the most planned intro for a show we've ever had.
And I am even prepared. I am wearing a Heisenberg t-shirt today.
Yes, to further explain what the fuck even any of that was, is we are both covering a Christmas DCOM today. 'Twas the Night, Christmas in July. It's like we planned it.
Yes.
We didn't, but if we're not reviewing it in December, it's a good month to review it.
Damn right.
And 'Twas the Night is starring Bryan Cranston.
Yes.
Most
Notably.
famously now known for Breaking Bad.
And the Power Rangers.
Yeah. Of the era that we are seeing him now, he would have been known for Malcolm in the Middle, like Frankie Muniz, in Miracle in Lane 2. And yes, he was in Power Rangers as Zordon. This was all something we briefly discussed in the last episode that I cut out because, oh my gosh, I cut out a lot of the last episode.
Oh no.
I went on for like 3 minutes talking about Friday the 13th movies. That's not in there because we respect your time as a listener audience, and I am very anxious about ever recording an episode where we talk about the actual movie for about the running time of the real movie. That's something that we're hopefully going to carry into here.
Hour and 30 minutes.
Hopefully less.
Oh, man.
Also, selfishly, that I don't.
That's how long the movie is.
I don't want to have to edit episodes when they're that long, but because I am meticulous about. You know what? We don't need to talk about how Krispy Kreme Donut Shop was a very important location in the Power Rangers movie, apparently. But yes. I kept all the stuff talking about Sam having stomach issues. Most of that stayed in. Yeah, a whole new pod is essentially now a monthly podcast, it seems.
Yes.
We seem to be consistent with that.
We
do have the excuse that last weekend would have been our weekend to record, but it was the 4th of July. But honestly, and this has been the case for a lot of years, or at least the last maybe 4, you could say, about America, that there hasn't been a ton to celebrate.
Wow.
And I don't know what Jacob did. I respected whether he had plans or not, but I did absolutely nothing on the 4th of July.
I don't remember yesterday.
I think our town did shoot off fireworks, but I couldn't even be bothered to.
I didn't think it was a town. I think it was just people.
Yeah, definitely people were.
Just people. People do it all the time.
But I couldn't be bothered to go outside or move towards a window or anything.
I mean, we got them last night till like 1 a.m. Bang, every like 20 minutes.
But also, coinciding partially with the 4th of July and a little bit before, we've had a bunch of spike in positive cases of coronavirus in our area.
We've had a couple at my work a few weeks ago.
Then it probably was good that I'd be like, hey, you know, I'll keep Jacob at arm's length because, well, we're not wearing masks right now, but maybe we should. But yeah, the bars opened up to allow people inside. And, you know, me and Jacob come from a background where we've never drank. Jacob kind of enjoys bar culture in a weird voyeuristic way that isn't as like creepy and problematic as it could be, or as it maybe sounds. But I just don't understand, like I get socializing with people and I miss hanging out with our friends in person. But like the idea of just like, I need to go to a bar. The drinks are more expensive than if you made them at home. Bar people are generally shitty people, but I guess if you're a shitty person who wants to go to a bar, then you like the shitty people at bars. And it just seems like a lifestyle that, I don't know, is depressing in maybe like extreme cases and just like very, I don't know, especially in this circumstance of like all the things I got infected doing. It's because I rushed out to go to a bar right away. So that's why I was like, well, 4th of July, spike in cases. And I had a hunch that maybe it would spread potentially to Jacob's workplace because of maybe some Venn diagram crossover between the two. So that's why we took a week off, but we're back and we're feeling strong. And unlike how I felt at the end of Halloween Town 2, I'm feeling good. We watched a good one today.
We had fun watching this one.
As I said at the top of the episode, occasionally we like the DCOMs.
Yeah,
and I feel like it's been a while since I really felt strongly.
There was nothing really to not like about this movie.
Very briefly at the beginning of
really.
the movie, there was some stuff I wasn't a fan of, but for the most part, yeah, this is...
We weren't bashing it.
was,
Usually we like just talk shit during the whole movie.
It was a straight
we
DCOM
were more
banger.
laughing, I think, than anything.
Yeah.
With little Peter.
So I think that's all I really had for the top of the show, so we can just get right into it. As we already mentioned, Twas the Night is the name of the movie, and we get that right away. Title card, we see a nice little house. The mailbox says Wrigley. This is the family Wrigley. The Wrigley family.
They own the gum company.
And they've got some, snow on the ground, some Christmas lights, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Twas the Night title card pops up, and we're hearing narration from, I guess, kind of the main character, Danny, but he's not necessarily...
Second main character, maybe.
He's not as, forceful of a main character as some DCOMs, where it's like, he's a kid, so he has to be the main character.
It's more
It gets
Cranston.
balanced out with Bryan Cranston, which is good that they've fully utilized him in, a really good way. So, part of what the narration we're getting from Danny is it's a combination of, him reading Twas the Night, but then it kind of morphs into him just, introducing his family. But before that, we actually get this quick cut, and this is, the one part of the movie I didn't like so much, because it's the weird sped-upness of DCOMs, where we're seeing, they were hanging up stockings, and they're ripping down the stockings, grabbing lights, and it's all, unspooling from a tree, going really fast and erratic, and it's all to the final reveal that we see Santa Claus bound and gagged in a chair.
And I don't even know if we see that in the actual movie happen, do we?
Very briefly. And it is certainly an astonishing opening to a Christmas movie to have that.
But this is days before this actually happens. It's like a pretty...
So what happens
maybe like a day
is we're seeing the night of Christmas or Christmas Eve, and then we flashback or fast rewind to a
earlier
day
in the
ahead
day,
of
yeah.
time.
Yeah.
And I had read about the first paragraph of the plot synopsis, and I'm like, oh, this seems to maybe go in some directions I'm surprised a DCOM does. And it's not as extreme, but there's still some more adult situations that get spun in a goofy way.
Yeah.
And on Disney Plus, the categories of this I think are
crime.
Christmas, family,
crime.
and crime. Which I'm surprised how many other crime movies could even be on Disney Plus, because I think they basically said that they will never have any rated R movies on there.
Maybe Clue.
So I think I've heard Hamilton has some swearing in it, so maybe that's...
Would Clue be? Is that a...
I don't know if that... No, I'm pretty sure Clue is PG or PG-13.
But I mean a crime.
Oh, yeah, sure. Clue is a crime.
Crime film.
Would Goodfellas be a crime movie? The Godfather is a crime movie.
Yes.
Yeah, we see Santa tied up. Oh my gosh, stunning. Cold open. Dun dun. And then
he's knocked out, isn't he still? Or was he waking up?
We can kind of presume he's got his eyes
he's knocked
shut.
out. I mean, that's the description says. Santa is knocked out cold.
Yeah. And then we get an intro of the family in a rhyming scheme that I did not mark anything down, but we've got the workaholic dad, the mom who is bad at baking. Those are basically the only characteristics we get for the parents, because they are not in
in the movie at all.
Then we get the sister, I believe Caitlin was her name, who is very bright.
Trigonometry book.
We see her reading a textbook on Christmas Eve, and that's all we need to know, that she is a tech wizard. We talk about some tech wizards, like how Marnie just randomly became a tech wizard.
But this girl knows her shit.
Yes, she is
everything.
She is a true...
She's a
tech witch.
Whatever that movie we did.
Genius?
Smart, yeah. Smart
She's a
house.
Real poof
She's a real smart house in human form.
She's a smart house.
Yes.
She's the one fixing Santa's computer.
Yeah, slay.
And then probably
Peter, hello, Santa.
One of the most baffling character, probably the most baffling character I've ever encountered in a DCOM is the little brother Peter, who is he's got orange hair, very British looking teeth, and at times in this movie he sounds maybe British.
I don't even know.
His voice.
Hello.
He looks like he's probably like 8 or 10, but he talks like he would be in like a Charles
2
Dickens.
years old.
He's, please, sir, I want some more.
Santa, I want another present.
Oh, Daddy, I love you so much. It's
very
and then
weird.
he'll just switch it into, is he actually British with this line? And he's just a confounding character. And as far as we can tell, this is the only role this child actor was ever in, to the point that when I try to look up information about his name, he apparently shares a name with a stunt coordinator
who would have been 18 during the time of this
he's
movie.
36 now, so he couldn't have been this kid, but I'm like, I don't know, maybe he has Andy Milonakis disorder and he was actually 25 when he was in this movie. And that's why he was doing
Goofy
weird British
shit.
lines. But yeah, it's not surprising after seeing this movie that he did not go on to be in any other movie.
I would have hired him. I wonder how he sounds like today. Has he grown into his voice?
He sounds like this because he's dead.
Oh my. Wow.
And
his
then-
career is dead.
Maybe he's like a lawyer now.
Maybe.
And then Danny, we see he's our main character-ish. He's playing on a computer, playing like a flight simulator game. And then
very important for later.
His brother comes in, Peter. Oh, we've got to go decorate the tree, Danny. And he's like, fuck, it's Christmas Eve. And I can't believe any kid, no matter how much of a dick he is, and Danny's kind of played out to be kind of a jerk older brother. Even as an adult, I'm counting down the days to Christmas.
Pumped for Christmas.
And then it's Christmas Day, and then it happens, and it's over, and I'm like, I feel nothing anymore.
Now I gotta go back
There's
to
no
work.
joy left in the world.
No more.
But Danny is completely taken aback that it's Christmas. He opens up his Velcro wallet. He tears it up. He only has a single dollar bill inside. So, I guess he needs money to buy Christmas presents on Christmas Eve. So then he sells off all of his stuff to his Peter,
little brother, who has loads of money.
We didn't really see everything he sold off, but yeah, he's got money to spare.
Like big bills.
But the parents find out about this, and they get very mad at Danny, make him pay it back.
Well, Peter's like,
but he was doing me a favor.
Yeah, Peter
Mother, he loves me.
Please, Danny, hit me more. What do you think to make my brother love me? And then the parents have some offhanded comment of being like, you're just acting like your Uncle Nick. Well, Uncle Nick's kind of cool.
He's a cool guy.
Shut up, Danny.
Yeah.
Danny goes back to his room, all mad, and then
he's a crook and a cheat.
He looks forlornly at a picture on his mantle or his side table of him and Uncle Nick, who is, of course, Bryan Cranston. They're wearing sunglasses in a place that I guess they eventually say is Monaco. And Uncle Nick looks like the coolest, shittiest uncle in this picture.
He's extremely cool.
And we get to see how he really is because we immediately cut to see Nick in a situation not dissimilar to Santa at the beginning of this movie, where he is tied up in a chair with something like a bandana covering his eyes. And he is being interrogated by ostensibly the villains of this movie.
They're in it a little bit.
Nerds.
Like 3 scenes. Yeah, they are kind of nerdy.
They're nerdy, but then they're also in this situation where they have him tied up and they're interrogating and be like, where's our fucking money?
And why did he owe him money? Do you remember what the deal? Do we even know?
So Nick is not... He's a white-collar criminal where I guess...
Just a con
loan shark, a con artist. He got some money, tried to invest it around, but he lost it. Did he just spend it on himself? Who knows? But now the people have come to collect, and yeah, they owe him like $30-some thousand. But yeah, they look like Revenge of the Nerds type characters. So how are they really gonna make good on this? And then walks in from behind Nick dramatically. Because Elliot, the enforcer.
They say, we have somebody that'll get it out of you, and he's like, oh, another one of you guys, and then Elliot comes walking.
He's a big buff Asian guy.
Yeah,
and he
big man.
Leans over, is like shaking Nick by the shoulders, like, oh, really, like scary, like what's he gonna do? And then as he's like going in, he just grabs his nose and like pinches it. And they're like, there'd be more from that coming from Elliot. So, like, that's the only jokey part, but, like, the rest of this is kind of played fairly seriously, and it's like, Christmas!
Yeah.
Your uncle! Somebody's coming to collect on his debts.
Yes.
Ooh, those are some nice kneecaps there. Nick would be ashamed if anything happened to them.
So yeah, they're basically guarding out his place. They almost wrecked his computer. His computer is very important to him. We know that.
Yes.
Lappy, very important.
His computer that apparently he uses for his business that caused them to lose all their money.
And like it's got big viruses on it. Like he runs the world basically with this computer.
So they say, all right, we'll leave Lappy with you,
Yes.
but you better have the money by, I don't know, the next day, Christmas or whatever.
Yeah.
And they leave, and immediately Nick is about to skip town. He packs up his bag, packs up his computer into it, and his wardrobe has to be commented on because I asked Jacob, what would you describe the way he looks? And
Cool.
Jacob just said cool, and that is right, or at least in the mind of whatever midlife crisis guy wrote this movie, because he's wearing a fedora, a leather biker jacket.
One earring.
He's got one earring. The leather biker jacket has like patches or pins on it. Kind of looks like
a peace sign or something weird?
Yeah, it kind of just looks like something a punk might have. He's got fingerless gloves on. I mean, there's just so much going on.
The fedora, though, the cherry on top.
And he slips out onto his fire escape because I don't know how he knew, but I guess maybe they said that Elliot was going to be guarding the front of his apartment building. And we get some rockin' swing tunes.
Yeah, because he's
Cherry poppin' daddies up in here.
Almost drops his computer. It's like hanging by like his foot, and he's like trying to like grab it. And
it's an overly dramatic escape. It's just like let him get out of there. He gets down, he sees Elliot around the corner, he tries to stealth around somebody carrying a Christmas tree.
And they load it up, and he's just stuck there like crouched down, and Elliot looks at him, and then they just...
The exclamation point once goes above Elliot's head.
Yes, the chase continues, and Bryan goes around a Christmas tree, Elliot goes through the Christmas tree.
And eventually they end up running, or Bryan Cranston runs into some kind of mall Santa or outdoor Santa area, which is kind of weird because this is an area where there's actually snow on the ground. So that would mean it'd actually be kind of cold outside. So you wouldn't want an outdoor Santa enclosure, for lack of a better word. But he goes in there and then
goes into the bathroom.
Yeah, and it's so weird.
There's a Santa taking a dump in the toilet,
and he could just be taking a nice sit-down pee.
And he pulls his pants off. He reaches underneath the stall, and he rips the guy's pants off him.
And fortunately, the jacket has been thrown over the top of the door, so then he's able to grab that.
Very convenient.
And then finds a beard and a hat somewhere else.
I think it was on the door, too.
To complete the look. And as he leaves, he runs into Elliot, but he's able to trick Elliot, even though he calls him by Elliot. He's like, oh, I'm Santa. Of course I know everything.
Yeah.
Which then I commented to Jacob is weird. And that's something that they always have to, like, skirt the line of in these movies, because kids believe in Santa, but then they're always getting some feedback from friends or whatnot that Santa's not real. So these movies will have people who don't believe in Santa.
Yes.
Like there's a scene where Caitlin tells Peter, oh, Santa's not real. Elliot should be one of those people who doesn't believe in Santa. But
he
then
does.
He's like, oh, yeah, Santa would know my name.
Yes.
But then we're seeing in the scene that he got those clothes from a mall Santa. So we would know that like, that's not the real Santa. So it's just like, you can't think about it at all because there's just paradoxes all over the place. And eventually we meet the real Santa.
Yes. But the whole Elliot scene's kind of funny too, because he's like, Elliot, of course I'm Santa. And then he just like starts like slapping his face, and he's like hitting him, and like, I don't know.
Yeah, it felt very, I don't know, Jim Carrey movie.
Yeah, he's just like hitting him, and like he's like really.
Kids would definitely love it. It's funny that Jacob's like, that was funny, and I'm just like,
And he's not like, Elliot doesn't do anything because he thinks it's Santa. Otherwise, he'd probably beat this dude's ass.
Santa apparently is on his own naughty list that just manhandles people's faces.
And then like he realizes like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be doing this. And then he just runs away.
He just hops on a bus and goes to the Wrigley family house.
Yeah.
And knocks on the door or rings the doorbell. The Papa.
Yes.
And he is not happy to see Uncle Nick, but Uncle Nick is all suave and cool. He's like, hey, Peter Cottontail.
Yeah.
I don't have a cottontail. Okay, all right, next. And then he's like, he says something to the daughter.
Dan the man.
Like, oh,
who's
sexy
runway model.
Okay,
yeah.
take it easy, Uncle Nick. And then, Dan the man. Okay, I guess that's the best that Uncle Nick has.
Goes in for a kiss on the lips of the
mom.
The mom.
And the dad in the corner. But, she does not reciprocate.
No.
So yeah, the parents are not like super happy to see him.
No. And he's still in full Santa Claus
he
outfit.
Is Saint Nick in every sense
Satan
of the word.
Nick.
Satan Nick. Why we've had, Santa Slay, SLAY as a horror movie. There's probably a Satan Nick somewhere.
Probably the parody.
But the family gets interrupted as they're reading "Twas the Night Before Christmas," so it's nighttime. They're about to send the kids to bed, but then Nick shows up. But then the parents' pagers, they both have
just
two
going
different
off.
pagers.
They're going off like
they're
crazy.
Blowing up. And
they got to go to work. So it's very convenient.
I might have missed like
Nick
what they were talking about, but they have to go to work on Christmas Eve.
The last time we see them until like the last minute of the film.
The dad is wearing a suit and tie, so he's got some kind of nice job. I have to go to business on Christmas Eve. And then the wife also, maybe she's a nurse or a doctor or something.
We didn't need to know about the parents.
No, it's actually kind of funny that it's like, all right, get out of here. And then, oh, right, Uncle Nick.
Before they leave, though, they're barking orders at the kids. They need to go to bed. The kid's like,
we don't want to go to bed, Father.
Please, no.
But eventually, so the two younger kids, Peter and Runway Model, go to bed. And then he just starts yelling at his...
Danny's like, I want to stay up with Uncle
Nick.
Fucking go to bed
He is,
now.
like we were saying, like this is the most upset we've ever seen a DCOM parent. Like he's pissed. And like Danny's like, okay.
I mean, Danny, I guess, did basically extort his brother for a bunch of money.
Oh, yeah, and then that's what he said, after the shit you pulled today, Danny.
And he doesn't want him to spend more time with Uncle Nick, who's a bad influence.
And then he walks by his dad and he's like, what did he say? Like, Merry Christmas, I love you. And his dad's like, doesn't even like say anything back to him.
I don't remember that. All the kids are in bed, and then Nick is left alone, and he's working on Lappy, trying to, make money, but he's got no money. And then the villains all of a sudden show up in a video screen, and they're like, hey, all right, see, you thought you could get one over on us, but we have your email.
Yeah.
The computer stuff in this movie is very stupid, where, yes, if you have email, you can just hack your way to somebody's computer with the video screen. And this was before I would think really any computers, laptops would have built-in webcams.
Yeah, so who knows how they did that.
I think webcams might have been a thing, but they would have had to be probably a fairly bulky external thing for the computer.
And then you have Elliot creeping in the background.
But it's also the time where it's like, oh, well, nobody knows about computers, so we can just do whatever we want.
Yeah.
So he's struggling. He can't close the video window. There's an X in the corner, but it's not working because they're hacking him because they have his email.
Exactly.
But then he, luckily enough, has a handy super virus on his desktop that it's a skull and crossbones icon that he drags onto the video screen part, and then it all kind of like fizzes out.
He's like, yes, I just fried their hard drive and any other one within 50 miles.
Brushes off his shoulders. All right, that's that. And everybody else's computer in the vicinity is fucked.
Yeah.
And wouldn't you know who is right in that 150
Cut to
mile radius?
Ceiling shot, crash into the ground, Santa's sleigh.
I like how you said ceiling shot.
Sky shot.
The sky is the ceiling of the world.
Yes.
Jacob,
Truman Show.
We live in a simulation.
Yes.
We never went to the moon. So yeah, then we hear some, we can easily tell it's going to be Santa at this point where he's yelling, Albert, what's going on?
And we hear a little elf. That's the only time we ever hear the little elf Albert.
Well, we get a little after that because, we hear like a crash or something, and then Nick and Danny both move into the fireplace area.
Like it must be a big squirrel.
Yeah, because they both hear something, and then they're hearing something coming down the chimney, and then all of a sudden they are frozen.
But they're still like moving.
Magic frozen, where it's one of those things where they do freeze frame some people.
In the movie, yes.
And I don't know.
Different
I feel like
scenes.
it's maybe that all of the Disney movies or the Disney Channel movies are shot not on like film. They're like shot digitally, where it looks faker just with like the quality of what they're working with when they just freeze somebody in place, because they've done that in some other Disney Channel movies, and it always just looks bad, where maybe they chose not to do that because it always looks so bad. So then we get them just standing in place, kind of wavering a bit in the air because Bryan Cranston's a good actor, but he's not a Times Square statue impersonator. But then Santa, in horrible... Speaking of horrible effects, they chose not to go in that direction.
Particles. He comes down and...
It looks like a bunch of floating Dippin' Dots.
DNA. What's the DNA from the Jurassic... Or not from like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Something from like a scrubbing bubbles.
Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. It's Mike TV in the air. That's literally what it is.
Maybe slightly better than a movie made in the 70s. But yeah, oddly enough, it's a bunch of different colored bubbles, but they're all mostly blue and green with a few red mixed in.
Yes.
So it just looks really weird, and then they materialize into Santa Claus.
Yes.
And it turns out that he's talking on like an earpiece to Albert the elf. We assume he's an elf. Maybe he's just a
strange lover.
I don't know, just some teenage tech guy he's working with. But he's got this orb that allows him to materialize. So it's like, so he's using technology because he says that he has an offhand comment about the reindeer
had
having
the flu. Yes.
Bird flu, swine flu, reindeer
coronavirus flu.
He's like, oh, I hate this technology. Well, then how does he normally get down?
Nah.
Through the chimney. Whatever the case is.
Who knows?
Since they're still frozen, he's like, oh, you're saying this is the computer, Albert? He walks over to the computer, and then Albert talks him through what to do, and he's like, oh, this must be it, and then he takes
literally
the virus
points
icon.
And drags, clicks, and deletes.
Yeah, which I guess was not just like a one-time
virus.
EMP thing. It was like a constant thing where like nobody's computers were going to be working or something.
Yeah.
Which is weird. And then Santa goes to... He's like, well, I might as well start here. So he pulls out of his bag a few small presents. Like, very small, like miniature.
Yeah.
And I thought this was a cool kind of conceit about how Santa would be able to carry so many presents in his bag because they're small.
Yeah, I agree.
And then he takes them out and he uses this techno orb.
The same magic ball that turned them into particles.
Yep, to make him bigger again in real size. So it's like, oh, that's kind of cool.
Yes.
And then, he drops the orb after doing the stuff with the presents, but then causes Danny to unfreeze.
So, yes, they were looking in the fireplace because they heard the noise or whatever coming. And he stops time, and they're still staring at the fireplace. And then, he drops the orb, which unfreezes time. And then all of a sudden, they're seeing this giant Santa dude in their living room.
Santa dude.
I mean, they don't know who he is.
He is big, so they're like, oh, is this like a home invasion? And I was taking notes, so...
I'm like, where'd it come from? What the hell?
So Nick was holding kind of like what the little shovel fireplaces have to like move coals and stuff around. So as I'm taking notes, I just assume he whacked Santa in the head with it. But Jacob says...
He trips. I don't know if he tripped on the ball. Trips on the... I don't know what...
ball,
he trips,
or maybe he catches like the carpet or like a rug
and he
or
smashes
something.
like his head on the fireplace and just like falls back like timber, just falls back like out cold.
Which I would think would be seeming... Getting hit in the head with like a shovel would seem more cartoony, where having him trip and fall would be like more like, oh no, did Santa actually die? So then Nick and Danny are like, oh shit, what's going on? Yeah. They start freaking out, and then... Nick picks up the orb and is messing around with it, or Danny, I think, was messing around with it.
And he
causes Nick to shrink small. Like the presents to be small. Oh, wow, that's crazy. So then they
Nick
unshrink
gets
him.
the ball, and then he freezes Danny.
All this is kind of happening at once. Then before they're like, who the fuck is this? And now it's like, oh shit, this is like magic. So it's the real Santa.
Yes.
And then Danny's like, oh, Santa's dead. Which then Nick quickly is like, no, he's not. Knocked unconscious. But even for like the moment the movie entertaining the idea that Santa might be dead is kind of crazy.
Yes.
So then Danny's really freaking out, like, oh shit, how are everybody going to get their presents? And Nick is just, I don't give a fuck.
That's what he said. It's not our problem. It's not our, not up to us. But when does he freeze him?
So he's messing around with the orb. He freezes him, and then he's trying to unfreeze him. But
he turns into the blue particles.
Which takes him up the chimney.
Into the sleigh, and he's hanging out, almost falling out.
And then
his death
is amazed with all the technology of the sleigh.
Not only does it shrink and enlarge things, it stops time, it does particle transportation. Maybe there's more to it.
Yeah, and then he's seeing like, oh, there's a computer. Oh, what's this? It's got a joystick. So then he comes back down the chimney, unfreezes Danny, And it's like, yo, you know what? I think we should go deliver the presents. And he says, the sleigh's just like that flight simulator game I gave you.
He's like, how do you know? How do you know? And he's like, I've seen it. I think I've seen it.
Yeah. He doesn't really fully explain, like, yes, there was a time pause.
Yeah.
For JoJo's Bizarre Adventure fans. It was not the world, though. But then, yeah, they get up and they start delivering stuff, and they decide to, Nick says he's wearing full Santa outfit now.
Yeah.
Let's start with the rich people, and he gives some justification for why.
We'll steal from the rich and give to the poor, some real Robin Hood stuff.
Well, no, he does not say that. He just says, let's start delivering with the rich people. And it's because Nick wants to steal from them.
Yes.
Because while Danny is off, or he's just doing stuff, Nick is using the shrinking ability of the orb to shrink down like a grand piano.
Couch.
Yeah, he starts off with some weird stuff like a candlestick holder, a grand piano.
Silver.
But as the movie goes along, he escalates to
Cars.
a car.
Yes.
Which Danny, being on the roof for some of the movie, you would think would maybe notice a car that was there before not being there. And they're fully utilizing the ability of the orb to pause time for the people in the house.
Yes, because we see the people several times. Like, he steals, like, a stool out from under some guy's feet, and they're...
And that provides for, some fun stuff. Yeah,
yes.
They pull off an ottoman from a guy, and then his feet are still standing in the air. And
he steals a biscuit from a dog's mouth and eats it.
And we'll see one when they go to a ritzy party later on that is particularly fun. So I just think this is a very fun concept for a Christmas movie, or just this shitty uncle using these Santa powers to steal stuff, and he's storing it all inside of the Santa suit, so his belly starts to grow as the movie goes along. And it's also at this point with Danny messing around on the computer that he discovers Santa has some algorithm of what you want for Christmas, how many naughty things or good things that you did,
and what you deserve.
For you. So a rich girl wanted a real pony, but she did 13 naughty things, so she gets an ant farm.
So, I mean, it's something alive, but it's not fun.
Yeah, it's not cool, but you just get something completely unrelated to what you want. And then Danny, I think, eventually looks himself up to be like, "Oh, I'm like super naughty.
He beat my brother's ass, and there was something else that he did."
And then he's like, "That was why last year I got the best disco hits of the 70s or something." Which I think that is better than getting cold. Let's just get something that you absolutely would not want. So then back at home, Santa is still just completely splayed out on the floor, and Peter, the little boy,
Peter.
He comes down and sees Santa, and he thinks it's still Uncle Nick.
Yes, he says, Uncle Nick, and he, straddles him.
Yeah,
he's crawling up him.
Yeah, there's no better word than straddling.
He hops on his belly, and he's, scooting his way up to his face, and then he just,
Yeah, he finds out that it's not Santa. He turns to the ceiling and screams.
Yes.
Then the sister comes down, and they immediately decide to tie him up because they also think he's a home intruder.
And this is the scene we see at the very beginning of the film.
But then immediately Santa explains I know that you cheated on a test in the 3rd grade.
Off Ricky Burwitz or whatever.
Well, fuck, you are Santa. So then they untie him. So it's not quite as dramatic as having him tied up and gagged like they had at the beginning of the movie. Yeah, this is, I think, the first time where Peter starts to sound British in some of his line delivery. And I'm sure maybe he was British, and then the director's just like, I don't fucking
Just
care.
let it go, kid. Just do what you need.
I don't want to have to deal with coaching this kid to get his lines right. We'll just roll with what we got. So Santa figures out that Danny and Nick took his sleigh after going outside, and he's like,
he's on the naughty.
Nick is on the naughty forever, all time, super bad guy list. This is the worst possible situation.
Yes, and the brother is not good either.
But then Caitlin says, how do they have your sleigh? Oh, well, it's computerized because the reindeer are sick. Well, if it's computers, I can track it. Doesn't have, if it's a computer, it has a web address. And it's like, no, that's not how this works.
In this movie, that's how it works. So.
I believe, and I'm not a techno wizard like Caitlin is, but I think a proper term would be a MAC address. MAC, capital letters, it stands for something when you're receiving internet through an ISP or using the internet protocol or whatever. I think it is then tied to your device through a MAC address or something like that. I just know that from trying to spoof my router to be a certain MAC address so then I could get street passes with my Nintendo 3DS.
Jeez, look at this
And it
guy.
did not work because it was too complicated for me. But she says, well, it must have a web address. Is it Santa.com? And Santa says, no.
That was taken. It's like s.22.clause.
It's sclause2.com.
Yes.
And then, oh, well, that's something to go on, but we have to go to the computer store because all of the computers here are too weak to access the internet.
They needed this special. Do you have what the special one was?
No, it was some stupid name.
DrexCon 5.
So, back with Nick and Danny, Nick's continuing to steal stuff, and then Danny goes on a bit of a weird power trip where he sees a kid he goes to school with, and he's like, you like to beat up on kids. You know what? You're not getting what you wanted. You're getting a punching bag.
Yeah.
And then Nick's like, oh, that's weird. Why did you give him a punching bag? And he explains, oh, well, it's a good way for him to like channel his anger. And then it's like played off as, oh, that's really thoughtful of you, Danny. And not like
great.
A fucked up thing where Santa can decide, hey, you get an ant farm, but for Danny to do it, And Danny's, he's like a borderline bully, at least within his family unit. But then Nick's like, oh, that's really cool. So then they sit down, and then we get a little history of Nick, and I don't know if it's quite the genesis of why he became a shitty person, or at least why he doesn't care about helping Santa, except he's pretending to, is that, I really, as a kid, I had asked for all I wanted.
This is the only thing I wanted.
Just a really simple request.
A Jimi Hendrix signed, really rare guitar,
From a specific music store.
Yes.
Which I asked, did the music store have a Jimi Hendrix signed guitar? Or he's like, no, Santa, I want you to pick this up from this store.
From the corpse
Jimi
itself.
Hendrix, who maybe would have been dead or alive, who knows. But that's why he's anti-Christmas, because
he didn't get this multi-$10,000, $20,000 item.
Presumably he was naughty then.
Yeah.
And he would have gotten it if he was good.
Maybe.
But I can't remember if he says what he got instead. He's like, I just got a car instead. Back with the kids and Santa in... Overall, this movie is pretty good, but one of the standout scenes of this movie is Santa eventually figures out, because he's like, where are your parents' sleigh? And they're like, oh, Santa. And they get in an SUV or something.
And he's driving.
Yeah, he figures out how to drive, and then they're
stopping.
Weird, sketchy alley, and they're seeing, as they're rolling up, graffiti on the walls. Oh, shorthand for this is the bad part of town. Caitlin's like, oh, we shouldn't have taken this shortcut. And they keep going down the alley, but they're blocked by a car and a bunch of hooligans.
Playing some rap music.
And then spray painting graffiti. Santa rolls down the window to be like, hello, folks. Jolly good evening to you
and
all.
Caitlin's like,
Merry Christmas.
Put that fucking window up now. Get him up now. And then they just like approach him. Like, yo, what's up?
This guy, who the fuck?
And then they start fucking rocking and rocking.
Which is, gets de-escalated quickly. But yeah, in a kid's
because he just gets out of the thing. He just steps out. He don't care. And then they all back off.
So Santa gets out and then is like squaring up.
The greatest scene in DCOM history.
He's gonna fight the gang leader, who we later learn is named Pablo. And then
Pablo comes in for a big swing.
I don't know if actually he swings, but Santa just goes in to like starts tickling him.
Yeah, he like
and Pablo's like, the fuck?
And it happens like 3 or 4 different times. Like he tries to like attack him, and he just like puts his like I don't know.
So he goes in for the tickle
a
couple of times, and then Pablo like giggles and like backs off. And then we get the standout scene.
Yes.
Well, really, for no reason, Santa pulls, I don't know,
he wall runs.
Move.
He wall runs up, does a flip.
Yeah, flips. With the way the shot is framed,
like
it looks like he doesn't actually move anyway. But then it cuts to him being behind Pablo to get like a reach around tickle.
Yes. Like Pablo's like, yo, dog, you're okay with me.
He says, Uncle.
You can join my squad.
Yeah, he's like, all right. He turns to his gang and is like, y'all can't tell anybody, but you know what, Santa? Or he doesn't say Santa, but he's, hey, you cool with me? You want to join up? And then they befriend the gangsters, who then guide them to the computer store.
Like, hey, you got to look out, man. Hey, there's some tough people out here. There's some real weirdos, real wackos. And then they guide him to the computer store.
Yep. And then they've got a car with hydraulics.
And
so it goes low riding, and then
and it's playing the hip hop. And as they go away, he's like, that's a real catchy tune.
He's like, I could fuck with that.
Yes, love that music.
So then they go into the store, which on Christmas Eve is still open. Well, I guess we don't know how late at night, but at least late enough.
There's
that
still
the
people
kids
walking
go to
around.
bed.
There's still people like walking around outside.
But it's still like, retail's fucked up. You know, they can't even get Christmas Eve.
And as soon as they walk in, Santa's getting yelled at.
He gets accosted by the store manager, who just assumes that Santa is a mall Santa, and he's like, I could have used you earlier. We were busy during the fast shift.
Afternoon time or whatever.
So the computer store has a Santa Claus working there, but not as takes like kids and like sets them on his lap. He just works there. He shows
them where stuff is.
I needed you to cashier, Santa.
And he's like, these damn temps. I hate temps, he says.
So he's completely focused on Santa and not on the kids who are just wearing pajamas.
Yeah.
Hey, no shirt, no shoes,
and
no
then,
service, nothing about pajamas.
And then Caitlin I thought they came in together. They definitely came in together.
They came in together, and then the kids walk off as he's being talked to by the manager.
And then Caitlin comes up and is like, hey, sir, can you... I'm sorry, I'm doing a little Peter voice. She says, sir, can you show me where the...
Computronics 2700 is.
Exactly.
So she finds some display that I guess is hooked up to the internet.
It's like the greatest supercomputer of our time.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
She's hooking a bunch of computers together because that's how computers work. You just gotta plug them all together and then
to make a supercomputer.
Just wrap them together, put duct tape on them, and it's together.
Exactly.
The Wii was 2 GameCubes taped together. Everybody knows this. So then she's doing something and she gets into the sleigh and she's starting to control it because she also has like a flight joystick at the computer station.
But during this time too, Peter is like the lookout and he's in the aisle. He's deterring the store manager from like finding him. And then he's like, I gotta take a piss. He's about to like pee in the middle of the aisle.
Oh, I completely missed that.
He's like, no, don't do it there. It's like,
don't do a wee.
Yeah, he like turns around and just like pretends like he's about to pee.
I completely missed that.
It's like, oh boy.
So Nick and Danny, and I missed really what was going on, but they can tell that somebody's controlling it. But then it's not like, oh shit, what the fuck was that? They don't think it's Santa trying to control their sleigh. They're just, I don't know what's going on. Maybe Nick secretly thinks of like the bad guys hacking in. Because remember the bad guys? Well, you'll need to remember them in like 20 minutes because then they come back.
Yes.
But then Danny comes up with the idea of like, hey, let's power cycle. Have you tried turning it off and on again? So they turn off the sleigh.
And they drop.
The signal. And then, free fall. Eventually, they turn it back on and they get a pull out. Oh.
Foot from dying, from smashing into the ground.
So that works. And then I guess they just can't use the signal trick again because Caitlin's like, oh, that's it.
Fried their hard drive, I think she says, or something.
Yeah, well, actually, Danny says, well, we can do this, but it'll mess with the hard drive.
Yeah,
and Nick says, I don't give a fuck. Do it.
Yeah.
So then Caitlin is with Santa and Peter as they're getting back in the car to go home, and Santa declares that Danny is on the naughty for good list.
Yes.
Naughty,
for
no
super good, bad, evil.
Super bad dudes. This is the list of, are you a bad enough dude to save the president and fuck over Santa Claus?
That's right.
So then Nick and Danny, the hard drive hasn't completely affected them from getting a little bit further to go to this ritzy party where people have like champagne. There's a string quartet playing music, but they're frozen. And they have a fun little prop where the waiter is pouring champagne into a glass of this old lady. But they have it as like, plastic facsimile of it being poured out and pooling into the glass. But then Nick is able to lift up the bottle to be like, oh, it's frozen in time.
And then he licks it. He licks it and then he puts it back in the glass. But then he's like,
he says, ooh, somebody stop me.
And then he puts it right under her chest.
Not right on, but he moves it so that once time becomes unfrozen,
it would pour onto her.
She would get...
And we do hear that scream later on.
Oh my!
We do hear that scream.
And that waiter was fired, so Nick is... he's a true agent of chaos.
That's right.
So then Danny, at this point, has the ball, and they had made some offhanded comment, or Nick's like, hey, you know what we should do? Let's go to this ritzy party. They got so much food. We'll he's like, why would we go there? Because it's all adults. They don't get presents from Santa.
Yes.
Oh, well, we can go and... I mean, it is stealing, but we can steal some food and then take it to a homeless shelter.
So Danny has the ball and makes things small.
He's shrinking a giant turkey.
Well, Nick is going around not only like causing mischief, but he's stealing rings off of people's fingers.
Yeah, just stuff that he wouldn't need to shrink normally.
Small things.
He steals a kiss. He forces a lady to kiss him on the cheek.
Yes. He's stealing more than just items.
Kind of creepy. but not as problematic as it could have been.
Yes, exactly.
Like, if this was like a raunchy Adam Sandler comedy where...
Tongue. He would have like... Oh.
Well, I mean, I guess we kind of saw Click and what he's able to do with some of the abilities of that, which is make very lame people be like, oh, I cried at the end. I've never seen Click.
It has a sad ending.
Adam Sandler he wasted his life looking at the girl's boobs bouncing in slow motion, and now I'm supposed to feel bad for him and cry.
It's a sad ending.
Anyways, then Danny is coming out of the kitchen, and he sees Nick with a ring on his hand as he's like, oh, look at me, I'm so fucking good. And he puts 2 and 2 together and calls out Nick on his bullshit, and then Nick tries to gaslight him a little bit more, but then he hits the button. Or he's like, I know, your belly's been getting bigger tonight. You got things in there. He's like, what things? And he unstrinks them all.
You hear like all these different like just noises.
Like
the piano noise, the violin noise.
Horns.
And you just see Nick.
Who's basically pressed up against
Getting
the
piled
giant
up and up
ceiling
and up
of
and
this
up and up.
hall.
Yes. He like can't move.
If he had like 2 more things, he might have been crushed.
Died. He's dead. One more piano and he's flat.
And then, these things? So then Danny is super pissed, and then Nick says, hey, I was just gonna like steal them to raise money for a charity against bad stuff. Like, he literally says like bad stuff. He's so bad at lying. Well, he's good at lying, but he's just not able to get this one over on him. And then Danny says, you know what? We're done. I'm going home. He's like, okay, well, you can go home. Like, it's okay. Like, hey, we'll, like, figure this out. He says, no, I'm done. We're done as a family.
Yes, me and you are done.
We are never getting back together.
Never, ever getting back together.
Yeah, thank you.
I just wanted to say.
Now we're copyright struck. What happens? Yeah, they make up momentarily. Nick comes back and is like, I don't know what he says. You know what? Hey, let's go, like, return the stuff. And then Danny is like, you know what? I'm going to go back and I'm going to help Santa get this right. And then Nick's like, I guess you're like too good for me. I don't want to go back and see Santa. So Danny goes off in the sleigh on his own, and then Nick goes off to go sit on a bus bench somewhere.
Yeah.
Back at home, the kids are sadly eating cookies on the couch
Gingerbread.
with Santa.
They're eating them upside down. They're eating the feet.
I mean, is there a specific way?
You eat the head first.
You gotta draw out the pain, though. The head, that's a quick death for the gingerbread man. The way the shot is framed is very funny. It's very like
just plopped on the couch.
Straight on, almost Wes Anderson style. Just front facing, and they're eating these cookies sadly. And then they hear a crash, and Danny, which I thought, why would he crash now? Because he's been a perfect flight simulator pilot this whole time.
Maybe it's because the hard drive malfunctioned.
Yeah, because we find out it's broken and the hard drive's fried, so that's probably why he crashed here. But they go out and...
Sleigh is overturned upside down, I think, right? Or I don't know.
Something like that. We also should mention, the sleigh looks like absolute trash.
It's like garbage.
It looks basically like it could have been a high school play prop or something. It's like painted plywood. I'm pretty sure the ultimate Christmas present, the other most recent...
Better sleigh.
They should have just taken that. That would have had to been donated to like a museum. Because it's a cultural artifact you have to cherish forever.
Exactly.
Santa is very sad that I get my sleigh back and it's broken, so he's pissed. Danny goes and apologizes to Santa, kind of explains the situation. And Santa's kind of like, okay, but you still ruined Christmas.
Yeah, you're still on the bad, good list for life.
So Nick is sitting on a bus bench right in front of a church where they're singing some Christmas music.
Yeah.
Very kind of...
Home Alone.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was thinking of.
Homage.
You know, he's looking despondent, but he's still hasn't fully changed his ways.
And then who pulls up?
Remember these guys? The villains just happen by and they don't see his face at first, or really at all, and they ask him for directions to...
Where's 300 whatever?
Oak Street or something like that.
It's the house where The kids'
family is.
Yes, exactly.
And then
he points. Well, and then he like looks up.
Yeah, he points and they say, "Well, how far?" And then he looks up because what the fuck are these people's problems?
Hides his face.
And blah, 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 blah.
And then like, we'll figure the shit out. And then they take off.
And it's a very comically small car. It's a 2-door car.
And Elliot's just crammed in there. He's the
nerds are in the front seat and Elliot's crammed in the back.
Leaning over him. And he's thinking to himself, 300 whatever street. Oh shit. And then he realizes.
Yep. Nick realizes.
As the bus is pulling up.
Yeah.
And then the dude's like, come on, Santa. What the fuck? Are we going? And then, I don't know.
So I guess that explains how he gets there.
Was he getting on it?
I guess.
To, get to the house? Or was he going to get on the bus to,
maybe the house
leave?
was close. Maybe it wasn't. But he gets there, spoiler, fairly shortly. Then we see, for a moment, we get Santa being like, you know what? Fuck everybody. You know what? They deserve not to get any presents. I need more things.
Maybe they'll appreciate me after I take 5 years off.
And it's like, yeah, I guess Santa has a tough job, but I don't think it's a thankless job. I think kids fucking love Santa.
Yeah.
Unless he gives them coal or whatever. But realistically, he works one day of the year, and everybody fucking loves him.
Yeah.
Everybody's drinking Coca-Cola and being like, I love this guy.
That's right.
So, yeah, he's acting a little entitled. And then the villains pull up.
They do. And they encounter the kids with Santa. And they're like, where is Nick? And
they say,
like,
where the fuck is Nick? And they say, he's not here.
Don't tell us that shit. We're going to rip your fucking house apart.
Yeah, don't give us the
Santa's like, there's no need to get violent here and rip any houses apart.
Elliot steps up, looks intimidating.
Hello?
And Santa squares up and he says, he needs some tickling. So he's not pretending like he's going to fight. He says straight up tickling. But Elliot, as a true strong man,
not ticklish.
No sells tickling. Straight faced.
Not ticklish.
He's one of those jerks who doesn't get tickled.
Oh, yeah.
And then, unfortunately, Nick arrives right there. He's like, hey, stop it. And he tells them, all right, I've got a bunch of rich stuff.
I was going to say, you better have 30 grand in that bag.
I've got all of One-Eyed Willie's rich stuff, but
all.
I can't give it to you. What the fuck? Why not? Why even tell us you have it?
I realized somebody told me this and that.
Somebody told me...
Need to be better.
The world is gonna roll me.
I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed.
But yeah, Nick is saying, you know what? I'm changing my ways. I've got all this stuff, but I'm gonna have to give it back to Santa to redistribute. And then the villains start doing one of those things where he's laughing maniacally. Yeah, Elliot's laughing, they're laughing. And then Nick's laughing with them. And it's like, why would he be laughing? And it's because he's got the orb.
Yes, and he touches the thing. And then you start hearing, ha, ha, ha.
And Elliot shrinks.
Yes,
and
tiny.
That's basically the end of it because the nerds can't do anything on their own.
Next scene, we see them taking off Elliot in the back, looking scared, looking out the window.
Back in the back seat.
And he's big. He's big again.
Yeah. But it's like, at the beginning of the movie, we don't really know how Nick got tied up. You would think the nerds were the ones who did it.
Yeah.
And then they reveal Elliot.
Yes.
But I don't know. So I think the nerds could kind of hold themselves, but maybe they're probably ticklish, so they're like, okay, we can't fuck with Santa.
True.
So then
Danny's
really proud of Nick that
he's
turned at least partially a good leaf. And Santa says, you know what? This is kind of pushing you in the right direction.
Yeah.
And then they have a group hug, except Caitlin doesn't join in.
She don't like hugs. She's like, what the fuck you guys doing? We gotta fix this shit.
Like, yes, love me, Santa.
Yes, he is.
Uncle Santa.
Peter, thank you, Santa, for saving
Caitlin's like, hey,
Christmas.
Dumbasses. We still gotta fix this sleigh and save Christmas.
Yes.
But how? Well, wouldn't you know it? There's still one computer that wasn't...
Lappy!
A computer that wasn't strong enough to access the sleigh before, but it's strong enough to be a stand-in or a substitute for Santa's operating system or whatever. So the sleigh gets back on thanks to Lappy. Which gives Nick even probably more of a good in with Santa.
Yeah.
Santa says, hey, you know what? I'll go return the items.
All your stuff for you.
The thing is, you can't tell anyone. I can't let it get out there that Santa just really likes to tickle people.
Tickle fetish. That's a thing.
Oh, I mean, that's like dipping your toe into the pool of the entire...
Toes, that's another fetish.
That's, maybe like a foot.
Beginners.
That's just,
beginners fetishes.
Internet degeneracy.
Yes.
So then Santa says, you know what? maybe I need to start thinking beyond the naughty and good. Like, it's not that black and white. And it's like, wow, that's like some real moralistic philosophy being brought into here.
Good shit, Santa.
It's like the end of The Last Jedi until they erased it by still having Rey be good and Kylo Ren be bad. It's like, oh, that could have been interesting. So then the parents come home from, I don't know, business.
Business. They're home from business.
Remember them? We already forgot about the villains, and now we've got to remember the
Who knows how long they were gone? And why are they coming home together?
I don't know. It's a good
Very
question.
convenient.
Maybe they just went to a
were
party.
just using work to go to some kind of hotel.
They went to the ritzy party somewhere. Yeah.
Maybe they were at the party in the background. We just didn't see them. Who knows?
They were at an Eyes Wide Shut gathering. So then Dad sees good old Uncle Nick
passed out on the couch,
laying on the couch, and I guess that's all
of
that it
smearing
takes.
Off in his hand. He's passed out.
That's
drunk.
all it takes is the dad says, "Well, I guess he didn't
burn the house down
or do bad shit." So then he's like, "Oh." So then he goes over, takes his coat off, and lays it on Nick as he's sleeping on the couch.
And the mother comes and gives him a goodnight kiss.
And I just found it a really awkward gesture because that's almost exclusively what you do in movies to either a child or like a romantic interest.
Yes.
Usually like a woman. Not to be sexist or anything. But so for it to be like a platonic brotherly love gesture is just like, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, this dad is hardly a character anyways. And that was something I would have liked to have just heard a little bit is, so the parents are really not happy with Uncle Nick. And we see that he's generally a shady character, but we don't really know specifically like how that would have negatively affected the family to the point that the parents would be mad at him. It could have just been like a couple of lines about like, hey, I gave you some money and you lost it all. But one knock against this movie that generally I don't have too much negative to really say about it. So then the next morning, Nick awakes to possibly the scariest sight anybody could see. Peter running towards him.
Nick,
very excited. Nick. Uncle Nick! Oh, please stop. It's exciting because it's Christmas morning, which is a very exciting time.
Their presents, Santa Clauses came.
He had already dropped off their presents.
Oh, he had.
They're distributing the presents. We see that Danny had to give his parents an IOU because he only had $1 in that Velcro wallet. And also it was Christmas Eve, so I don't know, even if he had a bunch of money, how he was expecting to go buy presents.
He could have snuck a present away from him.
So Danny is still kind of shitty, but then, what's this? Santa must have come back because there's an extra present.
Peter says, like, what is it? I can't lift this one.
And I thought it was
so
going to be
heavy.
Another computer, but no, it is a guitar.
Signed by Jimi Hendrix himself.
He does not say it's signed by Jimi Hendrix.
They didn't show the signature.
Which would actually have been crazy because that would have basically mean Santa had to steal it from somebody. Because Jimi Hendrix could not be signing new guitars. So then we get a nice final sequence of the family all sitting together, and the dad's like, yeah, come on, Nick.
Play it, show 'em what you can do, Nick, come on.
It's been so long. And Nick's like, okay, and he pulls out an amp from somewhere, which is fortunate because I don't know how good the electric guitar would have sounded without it. He starts doodling around, but then he starts to
What was he playing? Was it Jingle Bells, I think he was playing?
It didn't seem to resemble anything to me.
Go back and listen to it. It was, promise you, it was the Christmas song. I think it was Jingle Bells.
And
but then he just started shredding.
Yes.
And then he's like, look, no hands. And he's like diddling it, and it's making good music.
He's doing
he's like yawning, I think, and playing it.
It's I don't know if it's the proper term, but it's the hammer-on pull-off, which is, I just know something you could do in Guitar Hero, that if it was like a sequence of notes, you could strum once and still do all of them.
Okay.
So it's something like that.
Gotcha.
So then it's, jamming out, and we get a little bit of final narration from Danny, who...
Daniel.
Really, this is Nick's movie.
Yeah.
He's the one with the major character growth. He's the one who gets, like, the final moment. But then it's like, we got to bring back Danny because he was the narrator at the beginning. He's, like, rhyming some more. And then he's just like, you know what? Blah, blah, blah. Family. That's the real ultimate
Home
Christmas
is where you
present.
make it.
The ultimate Christmas present is family. And you should spend time with them, whether you're naughty or nice.
Yes.
Which is, it's a good note to end off
message.
on. That, you know what? Naughty people do deserve
love,
good family. So that was, I almost had a flash in my brain of wanting to say the ultimate Christmas present. That was
the Santa Claus, starring Tim Allen.
Yeah, we should say that it is very derivative of the Santa Claus, spelled with an E. Except that movie went the extra step of being a kids movie where they kill Santa Claus.
At least this one doesn't die.
Yeah, and I would say this is a better movie than The Santa Claus. Because that one gets like tied up with like weird family drama between like Tim Allen and his like
kid
divorced
and his wife and that one guy that has really cool sweaters.
Christmas with the Cranks.
Yes.
So I looked up, The Santa Claus came out in 1994. It was a Disney movie, so Disney's allowed to rip off their own properties.
Yeah.
But it was 7 years after the fact. Another thing we should mention is this is the last movie of 2001, so another year will be in the books. So there was the gap, and it was actually a year before the Santa Claus 2 came out, so enough time had passed for, hey, you know what, let's bring back this trope. And I would say they did a better job.
It was a good film. I wouldn't say it's my favorite DCOM, but I don't think we can. I can't complain about it at all.
It's the one I've liked the most in quite some time, and that time is even more drawn out since we've been doing these less regularly. So that I can't remember the last one I probably really liked. Maybe like Motocrossed.
Oh,
I think that was one we did sometime this year.
I don't remember.
This is even approaching being like, this could just be a Christmas movie you watch every year. It's certainly better than some Christmas movies out there. Yeah. This fucking kills and fucks the corpse of Jingle All the Way.
Oh my God.
I would watch this forever before I watch Jingle All the Way.
So next time they ask you what Christmas movie you want to watch, you're not going to recommend Jingle All the Way anymore. Didn't you have to watch that? Weren't you telling me a story about?
I think I mentioned it one time, probably on the Ready to Run episode, where there was one Christmas where it's like, let's watch a movie as a family, and I don't really like watching movies that much with other people, exception to be when we are doing it for a podcast. But so I was bitter because, you know what, I look forward to Christmas, but guess what, I'm a grump and I have no joy anymore. So I was like, I don't want to watch Scrooge. It with them. Well, what should we watch? Lucas, you pick. So I think the year before, my brother had talked about, I like Jingle All the Way, so I bought him the movie because I'm like, no, this movie fucking sucks. So I will give you the gift of this movie to prove and stick it to you that this movie sucks.
And then you guys watched it anyway.
And we watched it the next year, and I don't think my brother probably had watched it in the year between. And then at the end of it, my parents were like, "Yeah, that was bad. Why would we watch that?" And I'm like, "Yeah, the movie fucking sucks." And actually, Peter's a bad kid actor, but so was the kid actor in that who would go on to play very young Anakin Skywalker. But at least Peter was like,
comically,
he was an enigma. Like, I was trying to figure him out. It was a mystery trying to solve. So
just really goofy.
Peter had that going for him rather than...
It didn't take away from the movie. It added to the movie.
And it's also just like, why Arnold Schwarzenegger? Like, he was in some comedies, like Kindergarten Cop makes more sense because it's like he's like a tough guy in that. But in this movie, he's just a mattress salesman in Minnesota, but he's got an Austrian accent.
Yeah.
But he's still like a giant buff guy. It's just nothing about it made sense. But this is not our review of
Jingle All the Way.
Jingle All the Way. But yeah, Twas the Night.
Twas the Night before.
Obviously, I think we've only had two
maybe
Christmas
three
movies. Have we had one other than The Ultimate Christmas Present? So, I mean, I didn't hate The Ultimate Christmas Present. This is much better than that. And I think it is actually in like the upper tiers of DCOMs, in my opinions, because it is one I think that almost just feels like it could have been a real movie, separate from being on television. Because
it's not too goofy. It's not like
the very beginning with like some of the sped up footage is, and some of the effects are kind of like, but other than that, like, it's pretty good. I'm trying to think. I know we get like some other Christmas movies, but I think they maybe kind of start to phase those out. But I would love if it had happened, where I know this doesn't happen, but that there's established franchises.
This just becomes a sequel?
Well, no, just like whether it'd be like a TV show like A Cory in the House Christmas, or like Xenon 4 is just a Xenon Christmas movie. Like, I feel like that could be fun and would be able to breathe life into Halloween Town or something. I mean, Halloween Town was already stealing Halloween Town, the name from The Nightmare Before Christmas, to then bring in like Christmas. That'd be like, all right, Disney, you can't like double dip too much on your own properties. But what is Christmas like in the year 2049 or whatever the case is? Like,
good point.
I would be down for that. I mean, it will never happen now, but
rest in peace.
So yeah, I think that's all I really have to say about Twas the Night. I had a good time. I had an enjoyable Christmas in July with it.
Likewise, I have nothing to complain, everything to add. Peter made the film.
I mean, who can be mad at a Christmas movie And I will say
with
that
with a great actor.
Jingle All the Way does have. It's a baffling scene, but it's kind of fun where all of the Santas are like doing kung fu fights. And Big Show, the wrestler, is a giant Santa.
I kind of remember that.
But who can be mad at a Christmas movie where Santa does a wall backflip to tickling a gangbanger?
Pretty cool.
We've been a whole new pod. We are not an exclusively Christmas movie podcast. We are an exclusively Disney Channel movie podcast.
Yes.
Until we
Disney Channel original movies.
Run out of them, and then we'll just only become a Good Burger reviewing podcast. If you want to talk about your favorite Disney Channel original movie Christmas movies, you can write to us at awholenewpod@gmail.com, or if you comment at some point on one of our YouTube videos, where you can find us at Whole New Pod on YouTube as well, I can pull questions from there. Just because we haven't gotten a question for a while.
No.
Which is, we're not like begging for them, but like...
Begging strips.
The episodes have been long enough without emails, and I've kept teasing like story time with Lucas and Jacob, but I kept being like, I don't want to edit that much, so let's just cut it down now. So yeah, the email is awholenewpod@gmail.com. You still cannot follow us on Twitter at awholenewpod. Can you appeal that, Jacob, or are you trying to do anything?
I just need.
Do you just need to start over, or is the account still like accessed where we can't?
I need to get on like a computer and try to access it and try to reset the password.
You should just buy a new computer. You got that stimulus money. That would have bought you a very nice laptop.
Oh, we got a second wave coming around to that, so we'll see.
Not that I've heard. It sounds like we ain't getting nothing anymore. Anyways, can't follow us on Twitter. Can't follow Jacob. Jacob is on the all-time naughty list.
Oh no!
And I'll just let you imagine.
Santa,
it's not for
Lucas.
It's not for what you think, though.
Oh my!
But then you can find us on Apple Podcasts. Rate us, review us on there.
Spotify, YouTube.
Write us a good review or a bad review. We'll probably read it on the show one way or another.
But we prefer good reviews because that gives
5
us,
stars only.
You know, especially if you're from like Iceland or like Slovakia or something.
Are those weighted higher?
The ratings around the world definitely increase.
They affect the algorithm more than
SEO.
Like, oh, fuck, this guy's from the Czech Republic. But yes, also Spotify, Google Podcasts, or whatever it's called, and on YouTube.
Yes.
Where recently the trend seems to be people asking me to just upload the whole movies onto
the
YouTube
that?
channel, which... In defense of one person, they asked me to upload, I think, Xenon in Hindi, which is a big ask for me.
Wow.
But it's understandable because I'm pretty sure Disney Plus is still very limited to what countries it's actually been released in.
Gotcha.
So it's still a little bit harder to find some of those movies, but like, hey, the Zoomers nowadays, these young kids, they've had it so easy with streaming services.
Yes.
They don't know how to pirate things, or at least at the very least, find... quote-unquote illegal streaming sites to watch them. Hey, that's how we watched the Jet Jackson movie the Jenny Project. Like, there are ways to find these movies, whether you only look on YouTube or not. There was somebody who commented like twice of just like links to go watch it here, like some spam stuff. So I deleted those comments. You know, I'm more forgiving of people just asking me what this garbage is as opposed to just putting spam links in. So... yeah, I'm sorry we are not going to upload full movies. We try to skirt the wrath of the mouse as much as possible anyways. And I'm pretty sure Disney would not take kindly to us doing that.
We'd probably get our account shut down.
Again, always the waging war for the 13th year. But that's about all I've got for that. And now I had planned out that great intro, and now I'm like, I didn't think of anything for the outro. So all I want for Christmas is
Elliot
being in the same room as my family.
Wow.
But do I really want that?
No.
I just want to be in the same room as Jacob forever.
Wow.
An MRRL time. Me and Mark Rutsu. Me and fucking Mark Rutsu. That's fucking right. I skipped 113. I'm a fucking legend. I've never seen a 113 and I never fucking will. 112, baby. To the day I fucking die. Yes! About time I get a fucking lucky break in this fucking game, motherfuckers, and I clutch the goddamn grenade launcher. That's fucking right! Yeah, it's this one. Right here, it's this one! My insane pace. Right here, this is the 112. Right here, yes! This is fucking it. I'm gonna have to find the actual whole vid off of it, and I'm gonna have to get it. Dude, what a rush! What a rush! Watch this. Watch when I get the grenade launcher. Look at that. See how fast my pace is? Right in the fucking head! Yeah! Got a fucking 112, baby! That's right! You see that clutchness? I am fucking clutch! Look at this fucking line I take. I'm like, yeah, baby, let's fucking do this. I wait. Right when he starts firing, to try to back boost me, the double. Body armor. 2 quick ones. I already know I'm getting there on the perfect line. Look at the fucking pace. 50, 49, 47, baby! That's fucking right. That's fucking it. Fucking pumped watching this one again. I waited to cinema too because I said, oh my god, it might be 112. And it fucking is! It fucking is, baby! Yeah! Look at me typing, you guys. You guys didn't believe me. I'm typing a storm. Dude, I fucking just got Streets 112. That's not fucking coming on. Yes! I fucking did it! That's right! I skipped 113. I'm a legend. I am a fucking legend. I'm a fucking legend. Yeah. I am a fucking legend.